The Joe Rogan Experience.
When I was coming up in programming, you learned by doing, whereas it became this sort of like very sort of traditional type of learning where it's like a textbook learning. Whereas I think now we're back with AI. We're back to an era of learning by doing. Like when you go to our app, you see just text prompts, but a couple of clicks away, you'll see the code. You'll be able to read it. You'll be able to ask the machine what you did there. Teach me how this piece of code works.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. And so a lot of kids are learning.
Kids are such sponges too.
Yeah.
They're such sponges.
They're learning
My kids
much
already
faster.
know way more about. I'm like, how did you do that with your phone? And my daughter will go, you do this, or go that. You get their little thumbs moving 100 miles an hour.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
"Oh, how'd you figure that out? TikTok. What?
Dude, the craziest thing is we have a lot of people making software from their phone. They'll spend 8 hours on their phone because we have an app. They'll spend 8 hours on their phone kind of making software.
Wow.
And that's better than watching TikTok.
Way
it
better.
makes me very happy about that. And so we
You're
just
accomplishing something. Yeah,
you're
not
making
just,
creation,
just
right?
droning.
The act of creation is divine.
Yeah.
We just announced a partnership with the government of Saudi Arabia, where they want their entire population essentially to learn how to make software using AI. So they set up this new company called Humane, and the Humane is this end-to-end value chain company for AI, all the way from chips to software, and they're partnering with a lot of American companies as part of the the coalition that went to Saudi like a few months ago with President Trump to do the deals with the Gulf region. And so they're doing deals with AMD, NVIDIA, a lot of other companies. And so we're one of the companies that partnered with the Humane. And so we want to bring AI coding to literally every student, every government employee, because the thing about it is it's not just entrepreneurs that's going to get something from it. It's also so my view of the future where AI is headed is everyone's going to become an entrepreneur.
Really?
Yeah. And so,
So this is the best case scenario future.
Yes.
As opposed to everyone goes on universal basic income and the state controls everything.
That's right.
And it's all.
That's right.
Everything is done through automation.
I don't believe in that at all.
You don't?
I don't.
No?
I don't.
Okay. Good. Help me out, man.
Yeah. So
give me the positive rose-colored glasses view of what AI is going to do for us.
Yeah. So AI is good at automating things. I think there's a primacy to human beings still. Like I think humans are so fundamentally the technology that we have, large language models today, are statistical machines that are trained on large amounts of data, and they can do amazing things. I'm so bullish in AI. Like I think it's going to change the world, but at the same time, I don't think it's replacing humans because it's not generalizing, right? AI is like a massive remixing machine. It can remix all the information it learned. And you can generate a lot of really interesting ideas and really interesting things, and you can have a lot of skills by remixing all these things. But we have no evidence that it can like generate a fundamentally novel thing or like a paradigm change. Like can a machine go from Newtonian physics to like quantum mechanics, like really have a fundamental disruption in how we understand things or how we do things?
Do you think that takes creativity?
I think that's creativity for sure.
And that's a uniquely human characteristic? For now?
For now, definitely for now. I don't know forever. Actually, one of my favorite GRE episodes was Roger Penrose. Do you remember him?
Yes.
So do you remember the argument that he made about why humans are special? He said something like he believes there are things that are true that only humans can know it's true, but machines cannot prove it's true. It's based on Gödel's incompleteness theorem, and the idea is that you can construct a mathematical system where it has a paradoxical statement. So, for example, you can say you can say this statement is not provable in the machine, or like the machine cannot prove this statement. And so, if the machine proves the statement, then that statement is false. So you have a paradox. and therefore the statement is sort of true from the perspective of an observer, like a human, but it is not provable in this system. So Roger Penrose says these paradoxes that are not really resolved in mathematics and machines are no problem for humans, and therefore his sort of like a bit of a leap is that therefore there's something special about humans, and we're not fundamentally a computer.
Right. That makes sense. I mean, whatever creativity is, whatever allows you to make poetry or jazz or literature, like whatever allows you to imagine something and then put it together and edit it and figure out how it resonates correctly with both you and whoever you're trying to distribute it to. There's something to us that's different.
I mean, we don't really have a theory of consciousness, and I think it's like sort of hubris to think that that like consciousness just like emerges. And it's plausible. Like I'm not totally, against this idea that you built a sufficiently intelligent thing and suddenly it is conscious, but there's no. It's like a religious belief that a lot of Silicon Valley have, is that there's consciousness is just like a side effect of intelligence, or that consciousness is not needed for intelligence. Somehow it's like this superfluous thing, and they try not to think or talk about consciousness because actually consciousness is hard
to define,
hard to understand scientifically. It's what I think Chalmers calls the hard problem of consciousness. But I think it is something we need to grapple with. We have one example of general intelligence, which is human beings. And human beings have very important property that we can all feel, which is consciousness. And that property, we don't know how it happens, how it emerges. People like Roger Penrose are like, they have these theories about quantum mechanics and microtubules. I don't know if you got into that with him, but I think he has a collaborator, his neuroscientist Hammeroff, I think, or something like that. But people have so many I'm not saying Penrose is just has the answers, but like it's something that philosophers have grappled with forever. And there are a lot of interesting theories. Like there's this theory that consciousness is primary, meaning like the material world is a projection of our collective consciousness.
Yes. Yeah, that is a very confusing but interesting theory. And then there's a lot of theories that everything is conscious. We just don't have the ability to interact with it. Sheldrake has a very strange view of consciousness.
Who's Sheldrake?
Rupert Sheldrake.
I don't know.
He's got this concept, I think it's called morphic resonance. And see if you can find that so we could define it so I don't butcher it. But there's people that believe that consciousness itself is something that everything has and that we are just tuning into it. Morphic resonance, a theory proposed by Rupert Sheldrake, suggests that all natural systems, from crystals to human, inherit a collective memory of the past instances of similar systems. This memory influences their form and behavior, making nature more habitual than governed by fixed laws. Essentially, past patterns and behaviors of organisms influence present ones through connections across time and space.
That's wild. And is he a scientist, or is this more like a new age?
What is his exact background? Harvard.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he's a parapsychology researcher, proposed the concept of morphic resonance, conjecture that lacks mainstream acceptance, has been widely criticized as pseudoscience. Of course.
Yeah.
Anything interesting.
That sounds interesting, though. Yeah. But there are philosophers that have a sort of a similar idea of like this sort of universal consciousness, and like humans are like getting a slice of that consciousness. Every one of us is tapping into some sort of universal consciousness.
Yes. I mean, everyone, all these alien movies, it's so fascinating. You try to like imagine what they would communicate like, how they would be, what we would experience if we did encounter some sort of incredibly sophisticated alien experience, alien intelligence. It's far beyond our comprehension.
Yeah, it goes back to what we're talking about with consciousness. Maybe really the physical world that we see is like very different than the actual real physical world, and maybe like different alien consciousness will have like a entirely different experience of the physical world.
Well, sure, if they have different senses, right? Like their perceptions of it. Like we can only see a narrow band of things. We can't see.
Sort of like the dog, hearing a certain
sure,
frequency.
Yeah, we're kind of primitive.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of like what we are as a species. Our senses have been adapted to the wild world in order for us to be able to survive and to be able to evade predators and find food. Like that's it. That's
right.
what we're here for. And then all of a sudden we have computers.
Right.
All of a sudden we have rocket ships. All of a sudden we have telescopes like the James Webb that's kind of recalibrating the age of the universe, where we're going, why do these galaxies exist that supposedly they're so far away? How could they form this quickly? Do we have an incomplete version of the Big Bang?
Right.
And Penrose believes that it's a series of events and that the Big Bang is not the birth of the universe at all.
And this is the kind of the thing that I think is sort of the Silicon Valley AGI cult, is like there's a lot of hubris there that we know everything.
Of course.
We're at the end of the world. AI is just it's the end of knowledge. It's gonna be able to like do everything for us. And I just feel it's like so early.
I think whatever people think is going to happen is always going to be wrong.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think they're always wrong.
Yeah.
Because there's no way to be right.
I feel like the world is often surprising in ways that we don't expect. I mean, obviously that's the definition of surprising, but like, the mid-century, sci-fi authors and people who are like thinking about the future, like they didn't anticipate how interconnected we're going to be.
Right.
With our phones and how
even
plugged
Star Trek,
in
they
and,
thought we were going to have walkie-talkies on Star
right,
Trek. Huh?
Yeah.
Kirk out.
Yeah. They were just like focused on more on the physical reality of being able to go to space and flying cars and things like that. But they really didn't anticipate the impact of how profound the impact of computers are going to be on humans, on society, how we talk and how we work and how we interact with other people, both good and bad. And I feel like the same thing with AI. Like I feel like I think a lot of the predictions that are happening today, like the CEO of Anthropic, a company that I really like, but said that we're going to have 20% unemployment in the next few years.
What's unemployment at now?
Like 3%. So, or 2%.
Is that reported unemployment, though?
The participation rate, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but he talks about unemployment rate being 20%, like people looking for a job not being able to find it.
20%.
That's
pretty high.
That's a revolution high.
Yeah.
Especially in the United States where everyone's armed.